Hello, everybody, and welcome to my channel. Hope you guys are having a good Friday today. So this is a response video that I'm making, and it's about the quantum field, and it actually involves a lot of stuff that I didn't want to get into too much. I didn't want to. I really didn't want to talk about the comet and the three eye atlas and everything. I didn't want to mention that in any way because, yeah, I feel there's a lot of energy behind all that. But I am, you know, I have to say the things that I have to say now, and the only reason why I'm making the video, uh, really is just for that purpose. So I'll talk about the quantum field. I'll talk about just my experiences that I've had and a lot of things. Lyrians, Andromedans, Pleiadians, Arcturians, and things like that. Um, and most of you would know what I'm talking about. So, the way that I can best explain the quantum field was it would be based on my last video or the video before that, where we had a special person that was talking about the current events that we had recently. So he talked about himself, and he said a couple of things about that. He said, he said, the last things that he said, he was answering a few questions, and we're all, if you could imagine, just that there's different levels of consciousness, and we're at that level um, now where it's just the physical aspect of what consciousness is. There's a lot of physicality connected with consciousness on a physical level, but it doesn't really connect with the core of the the spiritual part of that consciousness that you have for yourself. So, and then because of there's just different levels, we're all connected in that way, and because we're all connected, um, there's and then this is just one is going to get to what I'm saying in a second here. Because we're all connected, we are at a certain point. There's the we have a quantum entanglement. We have a quantum um, we all have a connection, but then we all have just a quantum connection, right? um, Opposing energy of individuals, and I'm trying to be as neutral as possible because you don't want to give it a quality, right, that it doesn't have already. So when he was talking to me about the things that he said that on my last video, right towards the end, he was, let me explain it to you so you understand. Him and I were having a conversation. Now, that doesn't mean that he saw the video the moment he started answering the questions when I was making the video. Watch the video and see when he comes in and talk. He was talking, or he was thinking of what his answers were to the video that I put. Okay, so I was talking to him in the future, and he was talking to me in the video that I made a few days ago before he saw it. So we had this conversation. He knows it. He understands that. He's now that I'm doing this video, his mind is probably all blown up, right? He was talking to me in the past, and I was answering questions. Then what was my present moment, I was answering question. I was answering his question of a future event that hasn't happened yet because he hadn't seen the video. So why is that? Why is there a going into the past and the present at the same time? And this is what's very difficult for you to understand, is that there are different levels of conscious understanding. So it's like the ocean. It's very unpredictable in some cases. Now, what brings us together? What would bring us, him and I, together in this scenario? That is yet to be um, understood, right? Or um, it's yet to be quantified so that it could make sense. But I got an idea of where we're going with this, and actually, we can all do this together. There's no, there's no secret, of knowing all this, because you can only just go up in consciousness, and consciousness going up, right, is pure and loving and caring and understanding. It doesn't turn into a hellhole as you progress and you understand these things. It becomes more liberating, and you're free in a lot of ways that you really wouldn't comprehend here. So, I'm telling you this so that you know that there's people out there that that they have a conscious connection with their higher self, or with their with their with their consciousness in the quantum field, right? They understand the quantum field. Another way of saying quantum field, you can say source, or prime creator, or a three-letter word that starts with a G. It's just whatever your understanding of what that source is. It doesn't matter if it's behind a veil of misdirection, or just wanting to control the masses in a big congregational place that you visit, once a week. But it's still available to you in that way, because it's all around. Okay, that was the best way that I can explain it. I don't think I can. Not sure if I could make it any easier than that, with the example that I just gave you, because it's something that happened, right? It's something that happened. We know it happened, so that I'm giving you the backstory on how is that possible. So I would probably draw for myself just lines, and then you could say that this part here is a little higher, and then higher as we go, and then we are all connected in that way. So we were able to have a communication at a lower level 3D place. We were able to have a communication, but as you go higher in the dimension, then we are both connected at the same time. Even though if down here on this physical plane, it seems like he saw the video after I made it and I answered the questions. I answered his questions, or we had a conversation, um, on the fly, like right there and then when he came on. No, was watching the video in the future, but you were able to connect to the quantum field where we're all connected at once, and we're able to have that kind of communication, you and I. So that is, I hope, something that doesn't blow your mind. I hope it's not something that you are going to just, start thinking about for too much, but that's what the quantum field is, and that's the best way that I can explain it. So you'd have to work on yourself so you can connect to that field, right? The person that broke the 100-meter dash in less than 60 seconds, then the next person next year is going to do it in 59 seconds, and then the next time somebody else is going to do it in 58 seconds. So you got to break that barrier so that we can all, at least the people that understand this, that aren't limited by certain conditions that I mentioned in the video, can then achieve what seems like magic or a miracle, right? And you'd have to let them. You have to give people their choice of choosing what they want. But still, you're asking the question, so you're gonna get an answer, and it's probably an answer that you don't like. Um, so then, I guess that's just the least important thing for me in this video. The next thing I was talking about was the three eye atlas, and how that is a and then how that is well, for whatever reason, I started connecting with my galactic family in that way, and we had a conversation, and that conversation was mostly about our heritage. And this morning, when I was driving to work, I couldn't stop tearing up. I was tearing up. I had to wipe my eyes quite a bit because there's this huge wave of energy that came over me, and it just kept saying the same thing. It just kept saying, we were in Lyra, the reptilians came, and there was a war. And what happened was that some of us were able to go into the ethers, take a physical body then, and just become molecules or something, and just kind of float up in a higher density. And then that's what we did. So we went up into the higher density, and and then some of us left to go to other planets: Arcturus, Andromedan, the Pleiades, and whichever other part of the galaxy here where we might be. When that happened, and some of us stayed behind, and so me and my friends, we stayed behind, and we were fighting the reptilians. So that's the part where it's like breaking up your whole family, right? And then you're realizing over and over again this has happened and it's real, because you live out the emotional connections to your galactic heritage, which is just, I can't say it's because of the comet, but I will say that it is just stirring up a lot of emotions that have always been there. Imagine if you can remember your past life and who you were, then you don't necessarily connect with the day by day. Your life is not a day by day. One of the most important times in any person's life is when they have a child is born. That brings in an euphoria that goes over your body, and you feel good about it. And it's something that you don't remember. If you stub your toe and it didn't hurt and you didn't care, or you had a cold, how many colds or flus do you remember? Do you remember every single cold or flu you had in your lifetime? It doesn't carry that emotional conditions, which it puts it in your brain, right? Doesn't put it in your life as a important event that happened. But a lot of the other stuff, as I mentioned before, does create an impact. So for me, it just, this experience just came all over me. And that goes to say that when I was speaking to them, my galactic family, they were all there, and they were all telling me that I went to the Pleiades afterwards, and then Andromedans and Arcturian, and we had an Andromedan that was just hanging out with us. You felt that today, where he's just there. He wants to be with us. He wants to be with his Lyran family again. He has this strong connection to us, and he's just been bouncing around, hanging out with us, and you feel him at a soul level, which is, it just brings out a lot of you, a lot of me, and maybe you too. But it's like meeting your Neanderthal, uncle or something, like that far back in the lineage. And he felt that he could reach out so close because he knows that we're all here on this planet. It's like I said, your family member just happened to pop out of nowhere from a long distance line of your family from the past and just happens to pop in, and you realize who this person is because he felt this connection and he picked up on a lot of things. I listen to a lot of music. Most of the time I really just like listening to music when I can. It's a good way for me to just go about my day when I can. And some of the topics vary. I listen to a lot of things, but I choose certain things over time. But he was, and then since I had this song in my head, I was just kind of thinking about it, saying it to myself here and there, just really getting a good vibe and enjoying it for myself. And usually I just play the same song a few times, or just as whatever's at the moment is what I want to hear. Anyway, he our Andromedan friend, he was listening to what I was. For him, it was just like listening to garbage, but he knew that there was something there, right? And he came out and he was just saying, because he knew, he kind of connected with my soul, and he said, hold on. I'm not gonna make this too long for you guys. I'm just gonna end with this. He said, how many incarnations you had on Earth? And I was surprised to know that he knew that I remembered all my incarnations that I had, at least some of them, the ones that I remember that are important, right? And it was just like, whoa, okay, like he knows, he could tell, he could get in and find it, and understand that part of me easy. He knew that, and then that was just a fun thing to do. So he might be hanging out with some Arcturians. He might be hanging out with Andromedans. He might be hanging out with the Pleiades, right? The individuals that are from the Pleiades specifically, and then that's your family. That's your uncle. That's your dad. That's your mom. That could be your cousin or someone that is in your family unit, but they know that there's little more to life than just what you go out and see for yourself. And it's very fulfilling, right? You're never lonely and you never really feel alone. You have a connection with someone that's very important, and a whole section of your family that's there with you, even when you think you're not going to be alone or by yourself. They're always there. They're always present, and I can't chalk it off as being the comet or that, but since it's a topic that's flying around, and maybe it's something that's stirring up a lot of old stuff that's coming up, or maybe the phase where you are, um, the phase where you're just like, okay, I've let go of that, baggage that I have here on 3D Earth, the shame and the blame game, and all that other junk that goes along with living a human life. Set it aside. You have to fill that empty space with something else, and then that something else is obviously what you, what your perception of what you know to be real for you out there, because you've always had that question that just lingers. And then there's some people that look at this video and just say, like, I don't know what he's talking about. And you probably never will, and that's okay. So I'll leave you with that. I hope you guys have a good rest of your weekend, and thanks for watching.